Happy time of day, everybody. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Please sign into the agenda and add any opens you might be excited to talk about today. All right, folks, let us get started with this amazing October 19th edition of the Education SIG. Do we have any new friends that want to introduce themselves and say hello to the group? Okey doke. Do we have anyone that is very excited and interested to help us by scribing notes today?
Yeah, sure, I'm on it. But everyone else also be on it.
Exactly. Many hands make light work, just like an open source project. All right, if you have any opens, please add them in. We'll address those after we do our section updates. So we'll roll over to section 1. Dave Rousseau, can you give us a brief update what's going on in section 1?
Sure. So link to the agenda and notes document is there if anyone would like to look at the details, but the two primary tasks right now, first and foremost, is getting the materials matrix organization defined. That will happen by the end of this week, the first draft. There is a working meeting tomorrow that everyone's invited to attend. It's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I did send out a invite to the entire mailing list, so hopefully you got that. If you can attend and you're interested in contributing, please do so. If you cannot attend and you have strong feelings about anything, please add your feedback into the spreadsheet document, which is also linked from here. This document is a dependency for a number of tasks across the different sections, so it is incumbent that we get it wrapped up, at least the initial version of it wrapped up. The other thing we're doing is in an effort to hit CROB's deadline date of December 1st for having the plan together so we can give it to the folks at the TAC. We are working on the various items to refine that plan, the milestones, objectives, timelines, some budget items, all that good stuff to more fully flesh out the details and try and put a semblance of a schedule together for what we believe we can accomplish next year.
Awesome. Any questions or comments for Dave on section 1?
I will be there tomorrow for that spreadsheet workout. On the spreadsheet, I have put the personas that we're trying to hit. So now, thanks for putting in that sort of matrix style. That makes a lot of sense. So we should be able to literally paint it red in the spots where any persona is not hit, which would be nice to see.
Cool.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions for Dave? Let's move on to Glenn in section 2 and give us a brief update, sir.
Yeah, of course. So actually we had a discussion about the scope because yeah, we also are very dependent on the gap analysis and what type of material actually we're going to build and need to cover. So for that, we actually did a sort of vote in the stream 2, where we focus on the ASVS and the WSTG. At least that is from a curriculum and topics point of view, actually covering multiple of the teams that we actually already have in the matrix. And then, yeah, like I said, at least we have a budget and a plan of approach. We might need to adapt it according to what will be the outcome of the stream 1, of course. But yeah, that is at least something we can work with for now. And I think also where we discuss as a group that this should be the focus for us, at least as an MVP. And anything else or extras that we can, well, extend the proposal and make modifications as we go. But yeah, to get going and to deliver something that we think as a group really needs focus. Well, it's the security development profile, so to say, and security tester profile. And like I said, when we classify the matrix and we have more better defined the personas and the teams, we can correlate that all back. I mean, it's just topics and categories that are, overlapping and reused anyway. And we also had a couple of discussions actually with parts of the other group. It was more on an ad hoc base because we were actually reading through the stream 1 and stream 2 because they're very connected and close to each other. And there we were indeed also a bit finding out what actually is defined there. So also, for example, Randall pointed out that I think from top of my mind, like stream 1.2, the goal, we actually thought about it, and it makes, in our opinion, more sense to also move that to actually stream number 2. Because in 1.2, we actually are talking about a sort of platform or storage unit where we're going to store all the materials. And basically in our stream 2, we actually already, made the assumption that is going to be the security knowledge framework platform, actually where we're going to provide and host and make all the material available. So it looks a bit redundant then to have two separate places where we're going to store the information. Because, for example, the other thing that we were thinking about also to make the generic approach for all the materials, like markdown format with images, etc., that it's easily also consumable, by other platforms and other open source platforms, right? And also the capability, we thought of maybe making an API endpoints that you can also through the API can actually grab that type of content. But yeah, so I think that was also up for discussion actually as an action point here. If it makes sense to indeed move that 1.2 also to stream 2.
All right, let's hold off that conversation till we get Sal's section 3 update.
Perfect. Thanks.
And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Any questions or comments for Glenn in stream section 2? All right, Sal, what's going on with section 3?
Well, so for section 3, our dependency was this matrix, but I think we're in a very good spot now. We know the persona, the professional persona that we're going to target the hardest first. So with AppSec, now I'm going to define a sort of rewards category for each of those training levels that we know that we're covering. And with that, we can start another discussion around what the rewards and incentives are. So rewards, I think, make a lot of sense in making sure that maintainers and projects stay involved. But incentives, I think we need to localize around getting those certifications out there fast. So that's where we're going to be. I would give us till after KubeCon for me to really get that out, but I think we can do that asynchronously. Yeah, perfect.
Cool, cool. Any questions or comments for Sal in section 3? All right. Let us circle back to our 2 open items. Do we want to, so as Dave mentioned, we're meeting tomorrow to finalize the spreadsheet. Do you have any more information you want to share about that now, Dave, or we want to save that for a surprise tomorrow?
If anybody has any questions about that, they want to clarify today, we certainly can, but we'll talk in a lot of depth tomorrow at the meeting about that. Again, just if you can't make the meeting and you have opinions or feelings you'd like to share, now's the time, or forever hold your peace, at least until the next version.
Yeah.
I did put one thing on the spreadsheet because I think it would be fun, even if it's not a useful column, it might be. Right now we had 9 personas that we've identified that we can do like a cluster analysis around every level of education that we have. But I put an extra column that says like unknown security persona that we can mark when we find things that don't match any of those. And that's how we might discover an unknown security profile. So make sure that's what I mean when I say unknown security profile. So use that if you find something that's not indexable.
You'd like that kind of listed as a persona that
Yeah, I put it just as an extra option out of the 10.
All right, perfect.
It's the
So-
none of the above column. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
so it's kind of none of the above, but you can also choose other personas and an unknown persona that you think it clusters to. And if there is a large cluster of things that everyone agrees represents something, we put a name to that. So cool.
Awesome. All right. Let us move.
Dan has his hand up, Crow.
I see that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to unnecessarily block you to moving on to the next agenda item. I don't get it. So can you be a little bit more specific about the kind of feedback that you're looking for in this spreadsheet and in this matrix? I'm sorry.
Sure. No worries. Not a problem at all. So we're talking about all these educational materials that we're going to do all these cool things with. If we
Okay.
can't organize those materials, then we have no way of executing on the rest of the tasks. So what we're trying to do on this spreadsheet is put together version 1.0 of a way for us to organize and categorize the existing materials that are out there today, what they contain, who they apply to, information like that. Determine, what these categories are. Personas is an example of that. Areas of coverage or domains is another thing that we're talking about. Basically, a way for us to determine, okay, this is what we've got today. And if we look at what we have today, based on this categorization that we've done, we will see what areas we have covered and what areas that there are gaps. And one of our future tasks is to do a gap analysis. But this is also going to be used when we're putting together the curriculum for, if you're a QE person, here's courses that would apply to you. If you're a developer, here's courses that apply to you. If you are a new security professional, here's courses that would apply to you. If you're just interested in language stuff, here's courses that would apply to you. We're trying to set the stage for us to be able to break this information down from a couple different perspectives and group the information together to make it useful for our consumers, but also allow us to maintain an organization, understand what areas we need to focus on as we move through acquiring new training materials or creating new training materials and getting them out to the public.
Awesome. Thank you.
So a specific example would be Randall wrote a lab about how to defend against cross-site scripting in SKF. So we have this artifact. So we put that entry into the tape, our little matrix, and we say, oh, this is a lab. And we tick that box. This applies to these types of people, the personas that might be interested in that. And then we say this, there's the theme of this content, the security domain that applies to is, actual, software development or, secure coding practices. We figure out what domain it applies to. And then the lab is designed for entry-level beginner people, we tick that box as we're walking across the matrix. We just are categorizing everything so that we can start to eventually add some automation that, hey, we need a SRE class, and we hit a button and it kind of barfs out, these are the 20 artifacts we have that are applicable and how we can potentially craft content or present that to that learner. Randall. Talk about your awesome example about cross-site scripting, the lab you're in.
No, not yet. I was gonna say to Dave, I did not get the email, and I am part of the mailing list for some reason. I think it's because I get digests. So if you could send it to me, maybe Glenn, or maybe Glenn got it. I don't know, but that way we could be there.
Glenn responded that he's coming, so he got it.
Yeah, he got it.
I will add you directly to the invite. If anyone else needs to be added directly to the invite, you didn't get it. If you drop your
Can you
names in the
make sure
chat,
I'm on that, because maybe I was, but I don't see it, and I don't see it on the OSSF calendar either. Maybe it is.
I know it's on the OSSF calendar.
Okay, cool. Add me in, so I make sure.
Yeah, I will be happy to do that. No problem.
But I literally blocked off tomorrow already for this spreadsheet, so I'm very grateful there will be someone else to talk to.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I had a couple other things. First of all, Saul, I actually got a chance to talk to a marketing professional about things we can do from an SKF perspective to motivate, reward, and maybe we could talk at some point about those ideas because I have them in my notes.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I guess sort of on a broader level, Jim, what's his last name? Executive Linux Foundation, everyone.
Zemlin.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. He was in London on Monday and we talked a little bit about this. I sent him an email. I was like, we need, as soon as we get this gaps analysis, we need to be reaching back out, and I need Linux, I need him to tell everyone, these are our needs. These are our needs for corporate education, and see who wants to sign up for the gaps.
Cool. All right, now, are we ready to move on to talking about Glenn's point for section 2 and potentially moving things around from section 1?
Yeah.
Take it away, gentlemen.
Do you want me to go, Glenn, or you go?
No, you can, that's fine. Otherwise, I do, so.
So what really kind of happened is that we already kind of have an SKF team that kind of already operates. It's not super big or anything, but basically we make sure that it still stands. And we merge things and stuff like that. So so there are parallels with certain things because in a way we kind of feel that Glenn already curates a library for SKF. So that's why we thought that 1.2 kind of is in a lot of ways taken care of, but this is also working off the assumption that we've talked about before, that everything will get centralized into SKF. So I think that that's kind of, maybe if we could finalize that, if anyone has any objections to that, because that's kind of what stream 2, kind of how the basis that we've been working on. And yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Glenn.
No, indeed. So indeed, what I see here, the Open Educational Resource Library of Secure Development Education Materials. Indeed, so currently we have it already. And like Randall says, I'm doing, well, also, of course, for all the SKF material that we currently have, I do the quality and assurance and making sure the level and the material is correct, what is being put in there, review it. Also working together with some other projects, right? Because it's, not only our material that we use and have, but also from other projects, basically. So also there I see collaboration and, well, sometimes even help the projects myself to add the missing pieces of material there and the gaps. So for us, when we went over our list and also we looked a bit over the other streams, then we actually thought the 1.2, it's sounds like a sort of a duplicate, or at least I think it should be in stream number 2 actually. So I just wanted to voice that here in our group to see, yeah, what all the other people think of it.
Dave has his hand raised.
So I completely understand where you guys are coming from on this. I'd like to look at it from a little bit of a different perspective. When we broke down this SIG's mandate, or how we're going to cover stream 1, we broke into the 3 sections. And the first one was the collect and curate content. The second was expanding the materials. And the third was rewards and incentivizing. And I think for us to actually meet what stream 1 intends to do, we need to make sure that we've got that scoped out appropriately across the sections. If we want to move this to section 2 and we all decide it's the best way to go, I think that's fine. But I believe that that's a core tenet of what section 1 was intended to accomplish, was collecting and curating the content. If SKF is the right mechanism for that to happen, I have no problem with that. I just want to be careful that we don't blow the scope of one of the sections out and put too much in one area and not be able to work in parallel on multiple things at one time. Does that make sense?
That does. I think what we were talking about more is that librarian role. I don't think that it should impede section 1 collecting and curating content. It's just, I think that we technically kind of already have something of like a system to serve that librarian role within SKF. So there's no problem in like collecting and analyzing what we have and adding stuff. I just think that we kind of already have that librarian role. Like, it's not necessary, because it would kind of create a friction point within SKF if, again, our intention is to merge everything and centralize everything in SKF.
So is that a hard and fast decision that we are making, that everything is going to go through SKF full stop? We will not have any materials outside of SKF? Sal has her hand up.
Just want to highlight an engineering anti-pattern that we are falling into right now. So no, we have not made any architectural commitment to SKF, and it has no bearing on our ability to move forward with curation at this time. It is a decision that we can make, but it's not a road blocking decision on getting a basic architecture together. We can host that anywhere, and we can host that multiple places.
Well, so for us in section 2, it is kind of a blocker. That's why we just are working on the assumption that we're going to centralize everything in SKF, because it's a lot easier to conceptualize, because otherwise we'd be all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not asking you to structure your platform.
And not only that, we have a lot of capabilities to do this. Furthermore, we've discussed things like, in section 2, we have things like videos, blogs, webinars. All of that stuff can be used to enrich the content that we have in SKF. So it would make sense that API get, expanded in SKF. So therefore we can, even the labs, we've been talking about how we can use the labs to enrich sections of content. Furthermore, the whole labs thing, there are other companies involved. Like Glenn said, there's actually a fair amount of contributors to SKF as far as labs and write-ups.
Okay, my question at this stage is, what are the risk limiters to being able to host this on other locations if we start exclusively with SKO? Will that limit us from being able to hold this on other platforms?
I don't see why not. I mean, all the information is open source.
I think we're fine. I think that answers the question.
I think the goal from when I've talked to David is really to provide an experience, a learning experience.
Yeah. Because
the information is free. You can go out, you can read it, but there's not really a way to engage with the information. And I think that's, to a sense, the problem point, that it's very dry information.
Yeah, so we are going to need a platform to be hosting this on, and that is going to need UX, UI sort of design around it. And I don't think these additional personas that we've budgeted for, right, the librarian, those are not about hosting the platform. Those are about curating content. So I don't think that I think that those are still incredibly synergistic, but what we need to have now is a realistic budget about what it's going to look like. We need to have a realistic idea of what the scope is that we're going to be able to deliver inside of year one. So with SKO, I think that makes the most sense to move forward, but I'm not the only one on this call. Yeah, I think it's a non-limiting factor. And if the limiting factor is human bandwidth, then let's budget in for that. So
we actually have, as I said, an SKF team. It's not big, but so far the last few months it's been working. So that's really why also for us to align our resources with what like OpenSSF, so that way we're not duplicating work.
Yeah.
For example, there's a lot of things, and we actually have a UI UX designer in SKF as well, and we're actually looking to expand on that. We have 2 other volunteers that have yet to show up. But yeah, like there are a lot of things in SKF that are already organized and moving forward.
I feel like that's an open source metric. Are we allowed to use that? We have 2 volunteers who have not shown up yet.
And let me point out that we are not going to control all of the content. There's a substantial body of knowledge within LF education. We're going to need to figure out how we're going to federate and share information back and forth with them. One of our goals in section 1, I believe, is to get our corporate membership to donate content. So if Intel gives us a set of training, we're going to need to figure out how to federate that. And if we have a single presentation layer, or even if we have multiple ways to tickle that API, that's fine. But we just need to understand that everything isn't going to be existing completely within the SKF system itself. Like what we're doing right now, we're recording a YouTube video. So definitely SKF could call out and present that in a page in a learning lab if this was relevant. But that content will exist within the Foundation's YouTube channel.
Agreed.
Yeah, indeed. And I think also, the whole idea of making it structured data, and for all the data that we use or import or have in our library, basically has the same structure, the same format. So indeed, if we want to have the material also in edX or other platforms, there's no no obstacles actually there, right? So that's one way of doing it. And the other way, of course, like I said, if there's a specific need for like syncing or whatever, then we create API endpoints where it's easy for other platforms to also reuse the content. But yeah, we just wanted to, we saw this 1.2 goal and we thought, yeah, that would be indeed a duplication, sort of say. And indeed, in SKF, we can all, have influence on that, how we present that and how we shape that learning experience that Randall also was saying, right? So at least there we're really in the driver's seat, how we are going to present and connect all these artifacts together to give the best learning experience for the user.
Let me also say this, that I think our point of view at SKF is more than anything to maintain and make sure that things are operational and continuously moving forward. I don't think that I think that if this group wants to do the curation of the content, I don't think that that's a problem. It's just as far as from a technical. And another thing I was going to add is I think also from a technical perspective, we kind of hold ourselves on the SKF team accountable for whatever information we do end up merging. So if something needs to get updated or something goes out of date, I think that kind of is one of the things that we also take into account.
And if you'll look, one of our members, I don't recall who, suggested a platform similar to the OER Commons or the LF training and certification portal. So, as long as SKF can provide equivalent services, I don't think that there's really a debate. But if somebody felt very, very strongly enough to make it a goal that we need to have some place to go without, so learners could see all this information. And if SKF can serve that bill, great. If not, great. There's no, I let the group. Does anyone have any? First question: can SKF provide those similar capabilities like the LF certification platform and the OER Commons? Does it or can it?
I believe it does, but I think that there's some slight adjusting around the edges that needs to be done, which we can get done.
So second question, does anyone have any objections of the proposal of using SKF as this library, this kind of repository or coordination point for all the collateral?
Yep, I think it makes sense.
And
All
just
right.
for the record, guys, I can come to the next meeting because we've been and I can give you a better rundown of services if anyone is so interested. I am working on a page that breaks all that down. So if you're interested, you could let me know and you could know how it actually technically works.
Yeah, like what I was gonna ask for is I'd love a written proposal of what exactly the elements we want to highlight within this. For me personally, as I'm starting to engineer out a rewards and incentives design, it would be very nice for me to be able to think about embedding that in whatever platform
Correct.
I'm using now. So
and one of the things, just to throw this out there, that the marketing consultant told us was that we should definitely consider putting more value to the data, because the data is very, very good. Like the stuff that we have is very high grade stuff, but we kind of give it out so openly and it looks so dry, and it's also written not in a very easy to read format. So all the combinations don't necessarily work. So he suggested, had we considered some sort of certificate, or what EDX does, we have the free version, or you could get a SKF certificate at the end. So that was one of his ideas that he gave us that we wrote down.
All right.
Because he thought that would add more value to the data. Sorry, Prob.
No. So to get closure on this, I propose we adjust goal 1.2, and where it talks about deciding where materials will be stored, we can adjust that to say this will be stored in SKF, and we'll still leave the determined services and tooling that platform needs, because the group and this new librarian might have suggestions for features and whatnot. And then we link directly to whatever goal and say, this will be fulfilled with goal 2. Whatever, and move on. That sound okay? Or any alternate suggestion?
No, that sounds good. But can we also finalize, as far as on 2, that our assumptions are correct to centralize all that data on SKF? When I say centralize, I mean make it presentable. I'm sure there'll be other avenues of distribution as well.
Does anyone here have any objections to that?
I do not, but I have a strong comment. I just had to be gone for the last 15 minutes because I had to do a dampness check in my very British house. So that's done now, but I did not take any notes. Can everyone please be on that document to clarify? Thank you.
Yeah.
But basically the proposal is we will adjust 1.2, and where it talks about deciding where this material is going, or buying a platform, we will explicitly state this will be housed in SKF. We will refer to that precise goal number in Glenn's part of the plan. And then we'll still leave it open that the librarian will and the team will provide feedback on potential services or UI changes or whatever Oh,
Yeah,
that-
so Randall, what I would love from you is like an explicit like services proposal, right? State the features, the services that they provide, and then from that, we get to build a budget that makes sense around that service design. And I can start with my rewards platform.
Perfect. We were also going to talk to Krob about like the team and all that as well in an off call. Everyone's welcome to join, but yeah, that is a call that we also wanted to have after this one with Krob. So
Okay. Avishai has his hand raised.
Yeah, hi. Just a quick question, since we are working on the glossary, is that also included in the content that we are expecting to externalize from SKF?
I would say so, because the search feature that we're implementing is actually is being provided by Algoria to SKF.
Yeah.
So I believe so.
Okay. So. Okay.
And I
so
do have a link that I will share in Slack. There is a development site that we set up where all y'all can test the glossary.
Cool.
Okay, so but do we expect still the source to be part of the education repository, or should we
Yes.
already move it? Yes, okay, and only the compiled YAMLs will be exported to SKF.
Correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
One remaining point of clarification. When we're making the change to 1.2, are we leaving the librarian role in there or not?
Yeah. Because
I think we should.
I'm
I
not
just
going to
wanna make
sit
sure.
around for the rest of my life reading blogs and taking classes and saying this is a great idea. This OpenSSF should do this. I want to hire somebody to do that for me.
Yeah.
I think what 1.2 is more like the technical part of it should be more an SKF responsibility. Where if
Yeah.
you identify.
No, I think there's a huge delineation between essentially a new, like, we need an archetypal David Wheeler to take on that curation. And then no archetypal David Wheeler could take on the platform, which is why we have a platform for it. So,
Right.
All right. Action items assigned.
Yeah, and that should be simple enough to do edit and PR to get that cleaned up. Any other comments or thoughts or questions on this topic?
Nope.
All right. Do we have any additional topics the team would like to talk about today?
Just a reminder about feedback on the glossary. I will send that link, but if you have feedback, maybe we could start a thread on Slack and you can let us know what you think.
Sounds good. And maybe we would do some homework that everyone please look at that. And if you don't have feedback, at least say +1 on the search or whatever. Give something. You don't have to write a dissertation.
Fair.
For next meeting, so we at least can move the glossary forward.
yeah, and just a note for that, just like little statement that I made about the gaps analysis. Tomorrow, I think right after this meeting, I have some time now. I'm going to write in a little bit about the Linux Foundation jobs report for beginning and end. And it gives us a beautiful little, like, we now discreetly know what data points we have to tie together to see if we did this well in a year.
Cool.
So that'll make
Awesome.
sure that we know exactly what we're doing on that spreadsheet tomorrow.
Great. All right. With that, we will close the call. Randall, Glenn, if you want to hang out and talk a little bit more about SKF, we can do that. Meow. And everyone else, you may stay and participate, or you are free to go enjoy 20 minutes before your next meeting. Thanks all.
Thank you.